Okay, today we're going to talk about the rich man and Lazarus, as told in Luke 16:19 through 31. It talks about a very happy, jolly, rich man who never hurt anyone. In the parable, Jesus never charges him with breaking the law or being a monstrous sinner, nor does he say that his riches were his ruin. He simply portrays him as a jolly man who dined and dressed elegantly every day, not even minding the poor who lived off the scraps of his table. To let you know how rich he was, okay, he wore purple every day. The color purple was made from a snail called a murex. It was harvested once a year when the star Sirius or Cyrus, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, was at its brightest. And it was harvested off an island called Tyre, which was like a mountain sticking out of the sea. And underneath this mountain were caves that the snail hid out in. So what they would do is they would take baskets of mussels and clams, leave them open in the sun for the day. So when they were half open, half dead, they would lower these baskets into the water with ropes, and when the snail came to eat them, the mussels and clams would snap shut and capture the snail. Then they would pull up the rope, pull up the basket, and catch the snail. The snail had one artery in it called the brachial artery, and it produced about a drop of milky white substance. Okay, it took about an ounce of purple dye to dye one garment. And it took about 10 to 12,000 snails to produce 1 ounce of purple dye. That's how rich this man was. He wore purple garments every day. That's where we get the color royal blue from, or why you see priests wearing purple, because back then only kings and priests and the very rich wore purple. Okay? And that is, you can look up the murex snail on Google. It's very interesting how they made the dye and all that kind of thing. Anyway, in contrast, the poor man would wait at the rich man's gate. He was a good man. He had sores all over his body, and the dogs would come and lick his sores, and he would wait for the scraps of food from the rich man's plate to fall, and he would eat them when they came out to be thrown into the garbage. And the rich man didn't bother him. He never hurt anyone. He was a jolly old man. This is a very telling story insomuch as we as Christians give to the poor what we wouldn't have eaten anyway. We give them old soup cans, old cans of dried pumpkins, not dried pumpkin, just cans of pumpkin, food that we haven't eaten in a month in our closets. We donate to the poor because we don't feel like putting it out to the trash. The same with our clothes. We give them what's in the closet that we weren't going to wear anyway. We don't go out and buy new clothes for them or buy food for them. Some of us do, but generally speaking, most people don't. They don't care about the poor. They do exactly what this rich man does. They let the poor live off of their scraps. So don't think for a minute, if you're one of those types, that you're exempt from this rich man's fate. Because when the rich man died, he went to hell. And when the poor man died, he went to heaven. Or at least they went to at that time, before Jesus died, there were holding tanks for people to go to hell and heaven. Pleasant holding tank for heaven, a tormenting holding tank for hell. Both men end up dying, and the rich man goes into a hell-like state in which he calls over to Abraham, who's in the heaven-like state, in whose bosom the poor man is lying, and asks that the poor man be sent over to cool his tongue with water. You see, even in hell, the rich man has a high opinion of himself, that the poor man should be his servant. And when he is told no by Abraham, he asks if he can at least go down and warn his brothers of the terrible state that he's in. This is interesting because it shows that he has some concern for his brethren. You see, you don't have to be a person devoid of all humanistic instinct to go to hell. But Abraham again denies him this request, and we read, Abraham saith unto him, They have Moses and the prophets to warn them. Let him hear them. When the rich man tells Abraham that if he, the rich man, should rise from the dead, then surely his brethren will listen to him. But Abraham prophetically replies, "And he said unto them, If they hear not Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded, though one who raised from the dead," which is a foreshadowing of people not listening to Jesus Christ who was raised from the dead. So if you think you're not in the position of this rich man, I want you to take a look at the pictures I'm going to put up next to show you the comparison between you and the poor, and think about how much you are doing for the poor. Okay, thank you very much, and please keep watching. Thank you. The king will then turn to those on his left and say, "Away with you, you cursed ones, into the eternal fire, prepared for the devil and his demons. For I was hungry, and you didn't feed me. I was thirsty, and you didn't give me drink. I was a stranger, and you didn't invite me into your home. I was naked, and you didn't give me clothing. I was sick and in prison, and you didn't visit me." Then they will reply, "Lord, when did we ever see you hungry or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and not help you?" And he will answer, "I tell you the truth, when you refused to help the least of these my brothers and sisters, you were refusing to help me." And they will go away into eternal punishment. The book of Matthew, chapter 25.